welcome to the Dinero Twins podcast. Today we're here with episode number 8, which we're extremely excited about because we're going to be having a guest speaker, and she's an extreme powerhouse. You guys are going to get to know a little bit about her in a second. So if you guys have not already done so, make sure you check out our last episodes and don't forget to subscribe. Hey, twin. Hey,
Hi,
Julie.
twin. So yes, we want to welcome Jully-Alma Taveras, better known as the Investinglatina. Julie, welcome. Yes.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. How are y'all?
We're good. We're good. We're super excited to have you as our first ever guest of the podcast. Woohoo! So I'm going to read out a little bio because I want to make sure that everyone understands how amazing you are. So Jully-Alma is an award-winning bilingual money expert. So she has taught over 7,000 students how to invest in the stock market. That's great. She's the founder of Investinglatina and the Investing Workshop as well. Pluto's, I can never say that, Pluto's award winner, featured in Pix 11, Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, New Yorker, by the way, of our amazing Dominican Republic. Yes. I hope my bio was good. Did I miss anything?
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I love talking about personal finance and investing. So I've been given really amazing opportunities, and I'm just so happy to be here with y'all.
Great. So today's topic is 3 easy ways to invest in 2022. So I'm going to let my twin kick it off with a few questions.
Yes. So the first question that I have for Julie is, I just want to understand a little bit about your investment philosophy. I know that there's so many different philosophies out there to invest. And I want to know, what is your go-to philosophy? Because I'm pretty sure that's what influences you to teach others to do the same.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, the word invest means so much to me. And I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And when it comes to the way that I have sort of lived life and how I've invested, it has changed over the years. So something that I did when I was 19 years old was I started investing into a retirement account. And really, even back then, the word invest wasn't even used. They were like, oh, you're just saving for retirement. And it wasn't until I saw the account really growing way faster than the amount of money that I was putting into it, that I realized, like, wait, there's more to this, and I want to find out. And really, that was over how many years? 14 years ago at this point. So it's been a while since I've been investing in the stock market. And it's the main reason why I teach that to my students, how to invest into the stock market, how to get started, because it really is such a powerful tool. I also have always been someone that really loves to invest in my own education. Like, I really enjoy learning. Even after I graduated school, first of all, it took me a long time to graduate school. My parents were like, are you done yet? Are you done yet? And I kept going back, and I kept getting degrees and trying different things. And even after graduation, I kept going back, and I had my job pay for more education.
Nice.
But I really love to invest in myself in that way, simply because I am a very curious type of person. I love learning and I love growing. I feel like that's the most important thing when we think about the word investing, is making sure that you're growing and you're laying out a path for yourself that can be very unique, that can be very rewarding, that you feel really good about. And of course, aside from investing in the stock market and investing in my education, I also invest into real estate. So I think that sort of rounds out my philosophy around investing and what I feel to be important and valuable. Not only that, but also what are the things that I truly am interested in, am aligned with, because you don't want to invest just because you don't want to do it kind of as a chore. Although I do encourage everyone, even if you aren't too interested in it, to definitely get started, but you also want to have fun doing it. So that's how I see it.
Awesome.
Yes.
So invest in the things you believe in.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great way to segue. Yeah, right into. So Why do you think so many people are intimidated with investing when they hear the word, you should invest, you should invest? Some people are just like, ah.
Well, I think the word in itself really does also imply a lot of risk, and people are risk averse in general.
Yeah.
People don't really like to take too much risk. There are a handful of people, of course, a percentage of our population that loves taking risks. I consider myself actually, I used to be more risky, honestly, but I consider myself like I do take risk, so I'm not very risk averse. But as you get older, also you think of things a little bit differently, and you kind of try to be a little bit safer about things. So I think really that's what holds people back, that they think that it's so risky, but there's levels to it, especially when you invest into the stock market. I mean, the stock market has been around for so long, and there are so many ways to invest within the stock market that are very, very low risk. I actually just made a couple reels about this recently, about risk specifically, because there are tons of ways that you can invest in the market, like without taking on a lot of risk. You can use bonds, you can use convertible bonds. Index funds are really considered not very high risk. A lot of people don't kind of recognize that, of course, once you're investing into the stock market in any type of security, there is risk involved, but really it's not that much. So I think that when people are hesitant, it's because they don't really understand it and they haven't tried it. Because as soon as you try it, as soon as you get started, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. It takes a little bit of time to adjust and to become familiar with how the market functions, and get used to kind of like the up and downs that are built into how the market functions. But once you're in, it's like riding a bike.
Yes. Yeah, it requires education, one, and two, control of your emotions, right? Because it's a very emotional thing. It's like, it's my money. Where is it going? Oh, it's going up, but it's going down. It's going up. Yeah. So I think it's balancing both of those things. Yeah, for sure.
I agree. And also to add on to that, I think you made a really great point, Julie, is understanding where you're at. Not everybody is the same type of investor. Not everybody has the same level of risk. So understanding where you're at, everybody in finances, we say that there's different phases in your life. You're not going to invest at your 40s 50s the same way that if you were like 20 25. So it's understanding that. And you said it yourself, there's different levels. So I'm pretty sure in your classes, which you're going to talk about in a little bit, you give people the ability, kind of like an assessment to see where they're at and what they should be doing to get to their objectives. So that's awesome.
Yes. Loving it.
I do have another question though, because I do feel like this one comes up a lot, especially because we live in a consumer world. There's so many people in debt. I mean, I think we spoke about this in one of our previous episodes. The average household has about $16,000 in debt. Do you recommend that people wait until you're debt free to invest?
I never recommend that. In very, very few situations do I tell people to hold off. One, because I myself have been in that situation. All throughout my early 20s, I had consumer debt, a lot of it, a lot of it. And I really didn't have a good handle on how I was spending my money and how I was paying my bills and what I was spending my money on. I was kind of all over the place. I consider myself really a shopaholic. I did have a problem with shopping, and I still throughout that time had invested. I automated it. I didn't really think much about it, which is the beautiful part about investing in and having a strategy just laid out for yourself, because it's really the type of thing that you can set and forget. You can say, all right, I'm going to put $50, $100 a month into the same exact target date fund or the same mix of index funds, and that's it. And that's how I lived a big part of my investment life in my 20s. So I saw the power of learning how to manage debt while still investing. And if I hadn't been investing, I wouldn't have gotten to the place where I had paid off my debt and also had a multiple 5-figure account at the time of retirement, right? In my investment accounts in my retirement fund. So I definitely think that people should consider. I think it's important to kind of crunch the numbers. And again, it's also a little bit of a process mentally and emotionally
Yeah.
to feel empowered to be able to do something like that. Because when you have this debt that really does feel like it's crushing, I was in that situation. If I hadn't started prior to accumulating that debt, I probably wouldn't have started investing. So I think it does take a big push, and it does take someone else convincing you and supporting you through the process to do it. So I get tons of students and people in general that follow me on Instagram that it takes them time to feel like they can do it. And it's important to me to help them feel empowered and to motivate them that yes, it is possible. As a quick little money or numbers recap, you really want to think about addressing your debt in terms of high interest debt and getting rid of that as soon as possible. Like for me, it was all of my credit card debt. After that is if you've taken on any personal loans, which will have a slightly lower interest rate. Then we talk about student loans, which are in like the mid single figure range. And then there's mortgage debt, which is very low, especially now in our environment. So it is important to at least tackle the most expensive debt first. But I definitely still wholeheartedly believe that it is possible to do both, especially as you learn yourself, as you kind of figure out what your priorities are, the way that I did,
Awesome. Thank you for that, Julie. That was really well said.
Yeah. And, just to add a little bit to that, I always say that earlier you start, the better, because again, it's training your mind to understand the value of investing, right? Excuse me. So with me as well, I was in debt, from 19 up, all through my 20s. But I always understood the value of, putting a little bit away, even if it, at night I would be like, maybe I should send that money to my credit cards instead. I always understood that you had to have some kind of cushion, and it's more importantly, training yourself to stay committed to putting something away for the future. So that's definitely a gem right there. It's got to be done.
And it's also comforting to know that you can do both simultaneously. You don't have to prioritize one over the other. Because at the end of the day, it's like if you only prioritize on debt and you wait until you're debt free, because it can take a long time. I mean, average can take like 5 to 10 years, more on the double digits. So if you wait that time frame, you end up being broke at the end of that, right? At least if you do both simultaneously, you're building your wealth while you're lowering your liabilities. So it's kind of you're balancing the equilibrium until now you have more wealth than you do have liabilities. So
yes,
that definitely makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. So let's get right into it. So we just want to know, Julie, because you are the expert in this. For everyone that's listening, 2022 is right around the corner, right? So, and I know a lot of people usually at the end of the year, one of their main goals is usually, I want to lower my debt, or I want to save some money, or I want to start investing. So we want to talk about, give us 3 easy ways that a working adult can say, you know what, in 2022, I'm going to start investing. What are 3 easy ways, safer ways to get into an investment?
Yeah, so if you really want to get started in 2022, and if you haven't, you definitely should. There are a lot of different ways that you can go about it. I think the first step overall is kind of figuring out overall strategy. And even though we're talking about 1 year, you really want to think about what do the next 3 to 5 years look like for you, and what are the things that you want to prioritize within those 5 years. So if you are thinking about getting into real estate, that is can be a very capital heavy type of investment where you need, at least not at least, but in many cases, 20% down payment for a property. If it's an investment property, it's 25%. So if it's not your first, if it's your second property or more, it's going to require more of a down payment. Although first-time home buyers definitely can take advantage of a lot of different programs that are out there. But if buying property is if it's a passion, if it's something that you really want to do, you really want to put together a 3-year, 5-year plan. And that means kind of stacking up that cash so that you can build up to that amount that you need. So I really like to recommend for people to sort of work backwards. If you're trying to buy a property that is $1 million, obviously that's a big figure, although in New York, it's not a lot of money. You want to, get to the place where you're saving $100,000, $200,000, which is not easy to do. So it really does also require a really strong income strategy. But if you are wanting to get started and not have this immense amount of capital to get started, the stock market, of course, is what I'm going to recommend because it's so simple. I have students that come to me and have had, they have other liabilities. They might have a family that they take care of or parents that they take care of. And they're like, I really don't have a lot of space in my budget. I have $20. And I'm like, that is good enough. So starting with $20 is perfectly fine. We are in a place now within the financial system where fractional shares are a thing, that didn't exist years ago. And so you're able to do these things, you're able to get started. So thinking about investing into the stock market as your entry point to investing is amazing because it doesn't require a lot of money. And then, as I mentioned, like the first step really is kind of finessing what you would like to do for the next 5 years. And if you could even do yourself one more favor, it would be to think about how much am I able to invest within these 5 years? So come up with those really hard figures like, okay, next year I'm able to do $5,000, but the year after that, I'm going to do $10,000 and then go up from there. So think of it as a sort of staircase, as a process, and try your best to reach those goals. So I think that's kind of like the first sort of step, really laying it all out for yourself. And the second tip that I would definitely give is if you don't have a lot, definitely get started with the stock market and learn as much as possible. With my workshop, I have a whole team of people that we meet with on a weekly basis to talk about the stock market and to talk about public companies. And sometimes we even talk about private companies. So just kind of learning and surrounding yourself with good people is a really great way to grasp the concepts and keep learning and become a better investor. I think that's the ultimate goal. And then the last thing that I would say is that you want to trust yourself. That's my final tip. You want to trust yourself. You want to be able to say, this is what I believe in. This is what I want. And maybe things won't go exactly as I plan or envision. And that's okay because we can pivot along the way. As I mentioned earlier, I have changed the way that I invest over the years, and that's, I think, how it should be. Absolutely. Even though you can set it and forget it for a while, you definitely want to go back and you want to make adjustments, make changes. And especially as life throws things at you, maybe you decide that you want to move or pursue a different career in a new city or even a new country. So once that happens, you have to just reconfigure things. So those are my top advices on getting started and coming up with a great plan for 2022.
Awesome.
Love it. Go ahead, Lisa. I don't want to interrupt.
I want to add something to that because I feel like you mentioned something so important, but I feel like a lot of people overlook it, which is your network. You networking can determine your net worth, right? And if you surround yourself with the right people, the like-minded people, or not necessarily like-minded people, because I feel like sometimes like-minded people may not challenge you, but if you surround yourself people who you want to emulate and you want to, copy, or you're inspired by, I think that would help you make better decisions or different decisions when it comes to your money, because you don't know you can't know what you don't know. right?
Mhm.
So even, this podcast right here is giving people the opportunity to be exposed to so many different conversations and topics and so many different techniques to grow their money, because that's the goal. So I love that you mentioned that, because a lot of people overlook that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like talk to people. I mean, I met Rosalind, I think at this point 2 years ago, through social media, and
Mhm.
we've done things together, and it's been really awesome to learn from each other. And I think that's in general like the goal. You want to
Right.
keep learning.
Yes. Never underestimate the power of networking, for sure.
Yes.
And even you, and I tell people all the time, like, even if your personality is, even if you think your personality is not one to be out there networking, you just have to push yourself outside of that comfort zone. Like it brings you wonders, right? To meet the right people, to learn from each other. I mean, both of you ladies I've met through social media as well. So super grateful for that. But yeah, this is definitely a good conversation. So Julie, thank you for those 3 tips. Talk to us about what you got going on in 2022. We want to tell our listeners, how they can sign up to your groups, to your classes, and get their hands dirty with learning these new ways of, growing their wealth.
Yes, come get dirty with me. Let's talk money.
I didn't mean to say it like that. It just came out.
I love it though, because money is kind of dirty. I mean, when you think about it, right? Especially, I mean, we don't deal with cash as much now, but it is
Right.
dirty. But it also is the thing that really builds bridges for us and helps us provide for our family, helps us accomplish our lifelong dreams. So it's a beautiful and dirty thing. I have the investing workshop. It's actually available on demand. Every once in a while, I will teach it live. You can find all of that on investinglatina.com. And with the workshop, you actually get weekly access to meet with the investing family, which is an amazing group of women that just show up every single week and literally pour into each other. It's so amazing. I am kind of like, I consider myself the moderator of what these women do and how, like, being just a supporter. I'm like their assistant, but really I love talking about what's happening in the news. This week, for example, we talked about inflation and how that's affecting, how we look at money and how we should be investing in this coming year. And we also talk about different stocks. So it's just a great group to chill with and to talk about money with, and it's a great place for people to ask all of their money questions. So you can check that all out at investinglatina.com.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here first. Make sure you check our girl out.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Julie, I want to close the segment with just thanking you again for joining us. This is really great. Our first ever guest. We hope to have you back again at some point.
Yes, of course.
So thank you again. Lisa, any closing remarks?
No, I mean, I definitely got some takeaways from this conversation, because it's just understanding overall that I think finance is personal, but investing overall really is just understanding, getting to know who you are, because if you understand who you are, it will help you understand where you want to go to. So the fact that Julie has a platform, she has a community of empowering other women when it comes to the investing space, because women, we're not investors. Well, not that we're not investors, but if we look at the numbers, we invest less than men. And I definitely feel like 2022, I think that's going to change a lot. It's going to change for many of us. And I love that Julie has a platform and the space to host that.
Well, thank you, girl.
Thank you for having me. I'll see you guys soon. Have an amazing weekend. Remember, everybody, keep investing.
Keep investing. You heard it here. Ciao.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you found great value in the content shared. Make sure to tune in again every Wednesday, and to also share our podcast link with anyone who can benefit from the information. Till next time, adios.